This is an interesting question. Is Starfield too big? This is a question which has been floating around for quite some time, and we've also brought it up here on this channel in a few videos, where we've actually tried to take a neutral view, maybe even playing devil's advocate and seeing the negative view of Starfield. And this is always something that's been raised. Is this going to be the case where Starfield is way too big in terms of its scale, but there's no depth? A complaint which was raised with No Man's Sky on its release back in 2016, and there's also been quite a few people comparing it to the likes of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where Ubisoft got overly ambitious trying to make a game for absolutely everyone, only for the world to be way too big and not really suit what old school Assassin's Creed fans wanted, and also the story itself feeling dragged out. So just for some background, chances are you've heard by now that Starfield will have over 1,000 planets. Each planet is built on the exact same system. It's going to be procedurally generated, but they will all have a different rule set. Rule set which makes up the resources, the wildlife, any types of flowers and plants, different types of dynamic events, any type of structures, collectibles, you name it, whatever could potentially be on a planet is defined by its rule set, and a rule set will be different for every single one of these planets. But not everything is procedurally generated like what it was with No Man's Sky, because No Man's Sky had some major problems on release due to this procedural generation, because not only did it procedurally generate the planets, it also procedurally generated the wildlife, and it led to some weird and wacky creations. Bethesda are doing a blend. Yes, the planets themselves are procedurally generated, but various structures as well as the wildlife is handcrafted. There's also specific places within games, such as the planet Jemison within Alpha Centauri, which contains the city of New Atlantis. New Atlantis is not procedurally generated. This is handcrafted for every single nut and bolt. Absolutely everything from the bottom all the way to the top has been deliberately put together. And this is a massive city, the biggest one within Starfield, but also the biggest city that Bethesda have ever put together in any of their titles. And the reason that Bethesda have taken this approach of handcrafted and also procedural generation is so that they can build a massive universe like they have with over 1,000 planets, but those 1,000 planets don't just feel empty. That there is actually a finer detail and, dare I say, flow throughout the game. But still, with that said, there's a lot. And this fear of Starfield being way too big really started to snowball and get a bit more momentum as of recently, because Todd Howard announced that only 10% of planets will contain life. So out of 1,000, only 100 of them will have wildlife, making people believe that for the other 900, what's the reason? What's the incentive to actually explore? And with that, we also have the answer within what I've just said. The whole point of exploration is for you to explore to see what's there. Even if it has been confirmed of there only being 10% of planets to have life, you still don't know 100% which ones do have life. And also, if there's not life, what's going to be there in its place? This is the whole point of exploration, trying to answer the questions that you don't know. But that's also if you are going to explore every single planet within the game, which is only going to be a very small percentage. It has already been confirmed that there is no need for the main storyline for you to visit every single planet. And this is a problem which somewhat happened, except on a smaller scale with Valhalla. Instead of it being different planets, it was different counties, and Valhalla, as part of its story, got caught in this loop where you more or less had to do the exact same thing and pledge your allegiance to various counties and go through the cycles of trying to complete missions. But ultimately it was the exact same thing over and over again for about 60 hours. That was an issue. And Starfield would have an issue if you were required to visit all 1,000 planets. That will get very tedious. If you are just looking for the main storyline, which is going to be 30 to 40 hours in length, you will interact with only a few systems, potentially being less than 100 planets in total. And if you wish to do that, you can. I myself am very likely to adapt this playstyle. I like going through games quickly. I like being the first to complete all the main story missions before all of my friends. I also, as a YouTuber, like recording videos. So I will get every single mission that I play through, record it, upload it to a Google Drive so that I can use it for footage at a later date. I've done this for quite a few games. It is a bit of an addiction. But once I've finished, if this is still a game that I enjoy, which let's be real, it probably will be, for the amount of time that I've been waiting for this and how excited I am for the release, once I complete the game, it goes back to creating a second playthrough where I take a different approach, have different backgrounds, different traits, and play through, but also keep my first save game and just explore, see what else there is out there. And from what has been revealed as well as said so far with Bethesda, it does sound like they've taken this approach. This approach where they want to supply content, make sure that it's in depth, make sure everything flows nicely for the main story, is dynamic events, any types of quests. But they also want to open up a lot at the back end for those who are completionists. Because just like the game's been set up to have 1,000 planets, but only a select few systems and a selected amount of planets will likely be used for the main story, once you complete the story, you can then go off and explore on your own free will. They've also done a similar thing with ship customization, because ship customization isn't something that's going to be big early on, and likewise probably not going to be that useful mid-game, depending on what you do in-game. Based on the components, the resources that are needed, and also how much these ships cost, Bethesda did reveal this is more of an end game situation, something that you'll dabble with more towards the end of your playthrough, and not just necessarily the end of you playing through the story, although that will be a part, but also that final stage of once you have completed the game. What else do you do? That is a struggle that many single player games find themselves in. It's good for the first playthrough, but after that, there isn't anything. And that's why loads of game companies over the last few years have really been trying to push this online live service, because they have that social fun with friends, plus also its constant monetization. Not the same with these types of single player games. So for the majority of the game, just based on your ship, you're most likely going to be buying presets, building up your character, gaining resources, learning the way of the game, building up your credits, ready for you to approach endgame and unlock this ability of you being able to afford to customize the ship that you want to build. And depending on the components that you add will depend on how far you're able to grav drive, which will then unlock more systems for you to explore more planets. It really does sound like a more of an end game scenario rather than it being the case of you needing to go and visit every single one. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Starfield being a walking simulator. This is also something that I brought up within other videos. And there are some people that agree, some people that disagree. And I do believe that there will be planets where there isn't anything. Maybe some resources which you'll need to head over to and you could set up an outpost. But it's likely that there will be some planets where there's no collectibles, no dynamic events, no wildlife, no plants, no enemies, absolutely nothing. And it also does sound like confirmation from Todd Howard himself, where he's even said that there have been planets where he's been walking on with his character. He's looked up into the sky, saw a spaceship, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's just something that you can see. So those planets will exist. And this is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending which side you're on. And I'm not trying to defend this because honestly, I'm split. I really don't know. This is somewhat a good thing if you're into realism, I guess. Or at least this is an argument that I've seen made. I've had quite a few comments which question on my videos saying, well, not every single planet does have life. Just look at our solar system. And yeah, so that does make sense. And it also makes sense that there would be nothing to do on other planets. The other side of this is from a gameplay point of view, which does mean if you are just trying to have fun and you go to a planet and there's nothing there, what really is the point of it? And even though I'm somewhat split, this is more of the side that I'm more leaning to, but I do have that option just to leave that planet if there is nothing to do and go elsewhere to find something where there is more entertainment. So to bring this back round to the original question, is Starfield too big? The answer, yes, probably. but this is also this type of game. It's more of a journey and a playground for you, the characters that you're trying to build, and to do whatever it is that you do want to do within game. If there were limitations with the planets, it also means that there will be limitations on what you can do. Now, there are some positives in that Bethesda said that they've taken inspiration from the likes of Red Dead Redemption 2, which is one of my favorite games ever. And Red Dead Redemption 2, even though it's not massive compared to Starfield, it is in depth in terms of different types of dynamic events, different types of activities. And it did provide an insanely immersive world, which is hopefully what's going to happen with Starfield. But another benefit that Starfield has is the constant DLC that they said that they will bring. So even if planets don't have something to do right at the beginning, hopefully there will be something in the future. And also we cannot forget that they are fully supporting mods within game. So if Bethesda don't do anything with it, hopefully this opens up the door for modders to put something together. One thing that has already been put on a list, and I'm sure there will be mods available within the first month or so, is land vehicles. The fact that this isn't being pushed by Bethesda themselves is a bit annoying, but if there is a mod to support this, I'm sure many people will be looking to use it. I don't believe Bethesda have the answers to every single question, and I do believe that there is going to be planets that are empty, but based on how things are set up, there's the opportunity for something to be done with it. And I think that's the premise in which Bethesda are going for. You being able to decide your very own journey. Whether that is exploring the planets with absolutely nothing on them, which is going to be a thing, or exploring the planets with everything to do on them. The choice is entirely up to you. And with that, if you enjoyed this video and the conversation, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit that subscribe button, and if you want to see more content from us, make sure that you go and click the next video on screen. We mentioned it today of talking about procedural generation. Well, that video goes way more in depth to tell you exactly how it works. The worlds are massive and you need to know exactly how it's done. So click that and I'll be over there to guide you through absolutely everything.